We know Satan from miltonic interpretation of a rebel named Lucifer. For as long as any religion existed, humankind was divided into two groups, believers and non-believers. But now exists a third category, Satanists. There used to be good or bad people, masking under a religious group that marked them pious and their practices as sacred. Times have changed now. The people have awakened from deep sleep and see things in daylight. But can they actually do justice to Satanism? Let me explain what Satanism is not. It is no way linked to evil practices or sinful life. It's a rebellion regime that stands against injustice and challenges the unfair use of authority and nonsense practices taken by ordinary people as customs. Who defines these customs? Of course, these ordinary people themselves. Do you know the origin of Satanism? Oh no, I'm not asking for the history. The concept of rebellion is stemmed in every religion in the embodiment of Lucifer, an archangel who refused to bow and follow the commands given by God. Before being asked to bow to Adam, Lucifer had worshipped God like no one did. He refused to bow because he believed that he was the best creation so far. This rejection and denial in love led him to go against humankind and belittle it in God's eyes, so that he can prove that mankind is not loyal to his Creator. That's all from a theological perspective. This term today is taken as a positive element of rebellion in our personality that stands against injustice and refuses to bow against arbitrary authority. The followers of Satanism have formed a temple, which is a physical projection of their union from all over the world, but initially in America. It's a regime against dominant religious privilege in Catholic communities and blasphemous declaration of personal independence. They believe that temple is a weapon in the ongoing cultural wars, and the clerics can practice sinful acts behind the curtains and yet get deemed as sacred. They still have the right to preach good. Salvation is the greatest trick played on humankind because the demigods on earth exert their power and put aside the divine power that offers us free will. Satanists are driven by democratic religious expression and identify themselves as secular, not Christians. In their slogan, they talk about a pluralistic nation that respects diversity and religious liberty. Unlike the devilish practices, Satanism is embracing satanic status rather than being controlled by it, the status of a rebel but against evil. Theology never stands aloof. It is rooted in ethics. Who defines ethics? Is not drinking blood in the clubs a custom defined by people, or you yourself feel it's gross? You feel it's gross. Stop the video if you feel otherwise. Irrespective of a religion or belief system, we know what to eat or drink and what not to. We know what stimulates what feeling. That's why instead of abusing someone in the morning, we say, "Hi, how's it going?" Just like that, the concept of Satanism is misinterpreted and portrayed by the Satanists themselves, who again want to justify their way of life as a scream against injustice. That way of life might negate their own slogan that they stand against evil practices. How could they justify the sole act of baptizing the grave by a gay couple, when to them religion doesn't matter? How come the act of baptizing exists among Satanists? Seeing their clothes as chains around their bodies and getting them off as a symbol of liberty in public, drinking blood as a sign of deviation, because every normal human likes soothing taste of fruits or wine, knowing that blood is prone to bacterial infection. How is that justified? Piercing body and even lips that makes eating difficult, and brushing even more difficult. Getting their faces tattooed to an extent that even their own mothers don't recognize them. How is Satanism justified standing against devilish practices? We can agree that they do stand against injustice because these are the bunch of people who have been deprived of the primary rights and were controlled by some insolence in the form of incompetent government or clerics. But there are some followers who misportray the whole concept. To the eyes of the layman, Satanists are the followers of Satan, of devilish practices, and because of a handful of absurd individuals who fail to communicate their agenda properly, the whole essence of rebellion is lost. This is why the Satan remains an outcast.